The following programming is sponsored by Tom Toole III. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Good afternoon, Greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell, and we have super agent, teammate Brian Blouch in the house from Chester County. Very excited for you to come on, Brian. And again, we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. We're streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can find us there just by Googling. And we have got one of the most exciting stories for me as a real estate ridiculousness fan that I have seen probably in the 20 years I've been doing this. So if you were living under a rock last week, this actually made 6 ABC News. There was a huge brawl at the Triple Play Real Estate Convention in Atlantic City last week. The videos are insane. The level of fighting that happened could be criminal in a lot of cases if anyone would have pressed charges. And to give you some perspective, and then I want to get your take on this, because Stacey was actually at the conference. She was not involved in the fight. That's confirmed. We had a couple other teammates down there, too.
I ran.
Yeah, I would have ran, too. And so the story, and we've got some inside reporting from the broke agent out in Los Angeles, because this is what he spends his time on, is that basically there was some competing mortgage lenders. And if you've been to the Triple Play conference, you know, certainly I'm a big fan of self-education and learning more about the industry. This is not that conference. This is like, go get your continuing education, knock it out, and then usually what the people do is apparently drink excessively. And at this particular party at Harrah's, the day before, they cut out all the food at the party, so people were just, you know, I mean, I think that had something to do with it. And 2 mortgage companies got into this huge fight, and the video went viral. I mean, where there was chairs being used as weapons. There's one gentleman clearly got knocked out from behind with like a punch to the side of his head. This was, I've never seen anything like this before. No. So what do you guys think about all this? I mean, is this what you expect when you go to conferences? Like, tell me more about your initial reaction here. And I'm glad it was mortgage lenders and not realtors, for the record. That makes us look a little better. What do you ladies think? Brian, what do you think? Jump in. Let's talk about this. This is bananas.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to a conference where something like that has gone down. So, you know, pretty interesting. I don't think that's something that occurs at most places. I think it did say it happened at 3 a.m. So I would have already been in bed.
Nothing good happens at 3 a.m.
That's right.
Yes.
But yeah, and then I think it also kind of went on to say that it was just kind of dropped. The police showed up, but everything had already broken up and dispersed. So, and no one pressed charges. So they just kind of, now it is what it is. But, you know, an interesting way to maybe, I don't know, I would think that would scare away some potential clients rather than bring them in.
Crazy. Stacey, so you were at the conference.
Crazy.
Did you hear about this stuff? Like, what was the buzz there? Because you were down there.
You know, funny thing is, I didn't hear about this until I got home. So I don't know how I missed it. But this is insanity. If you look at this footage, first of all, I can't believe that anybody wasn't seriously injured and that there's no charges pressed. Because just the chairs being thrown and smashed over, it looks like a wrestling, you know, there's wrestling events on TV.
Yes, yeah.
It's exactly what this looks like. And it's so funny because they said, well, we can't confirm or deny that any of these people were part of the convention, and we can't confirm or deny that any of these people were realtors. So we really don't know who they were. But yeah, but if they're the mortgage lenders, then it's much better than them being realtors. But seeing grown men in suits behaving badly, I don't see any women tossing any chairs around, but hey, they could have been in there too.
So there was the broke agent had a source where it said that a person who witnessed the whole thing told the New York Post that the fight broke out after several mortgage companies threw competing parties across Atlantic City the night before, and apparently it's very taboo to let in XYZ mortgage into the ABC mortgage party or whoever they were. I don't know what companies they were with, and that's how this broke out. And then they waited outside the company that couldn't get let into the other party, and jump them, which is very. If you watch the video, they were definitely waiting for people to kind of get out, and they jumped them, and I mean it was just nuts. And then so Triple Play came out with a statement. We're aware of an isolated incident that occurred during the evening hours on Tuesday, December 7th. However, it was not affiliated with any official events. Harrah's was not a convention headquarters or overflow hotel. The official Triple Play convention for attendees for the evening of Tuesday, December 17th was the Icebreaker reception at Caesars, which was well attended without incident. And then it went on to say there was a real estate agent. His name's Nick. I'm going to butcher this. Zestanakis. He told, and he said he was right next to the fight, and he knew two of the guys in the fight. And it was because of mortgage lenders throwing parties to attract agents, and they were afraid of stealing business from each other. I mean, this was, I can't get over this. I mean, the fact that it's on the local news, the broke agent had 3,000 comments on his Instagram feed about this. And then another source went on to say that the mortgage bank was hosting a party and another crew from another mortgage bank showed up wasted and sloppy. They got kicked out, and as retaliation, they waited till the party was over and jumped them, and they would not lend in other lenders. So I think that the whole point of, and then the police showed up, like the security guard apparently yelled, "I don't get paid enough for this bleep," at the party. So, this begs that I think this is really interesting because obviously this is just debauchery, stupid behavior. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So as agents, I know the whole idea here is let's throw a party and let's get some business, right? That's what they're doing. Is that really how you select a mortgage broker? Is that really who you decide who you want to work with? I mean, we've got varying levels of experience here. So, I mean, besides we've got, affiliations and partnerships and different things set up, is that how you make your decisions? Because I think this is a very poor way to try to market people, and I think they probably lost more business than they would have ever gotten from throwing a party like this.
Yeah, I mean, unless they could spin it around and say, hey, we'll fight for our clients to get the best interest rate. But other than that, there's not much positive to say about this one for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I asked you if it were someone from Delco because Facebook leading up to the event, there was an ongoing feud between two mortgage lenders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that feud, because I mean, this is crazy to me. This stuff goes on. It just makes you look bad.
I was like going on my feed on Facebook, and I saw it was a mortgage lender that one of my buyers had worked with, and that's why he's on my feed. And he was posting these comments about another mortgage company and their party, and they're stepping on my turf, and it was all this really juvenile ridiculousness that he was putting on his Facebook page, and my mind, I'm like, you're supposed to be a professional in a professional business, right? And I thought it was a joke at first because he even like scribbled on some photos and stuff. Like it was so juvenile, I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God.
But it continued. That day he kept posting more things, and then the next day he kept posting more things. And it was this whole feud. That's why I asked you were they, who these people were, because I could see how it started up and it was leading up to this, crescendo of a knockdown, drag-out fight. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling to me that professionals behave this way. It really is. I mean, you have to question if you're trying to get business and become, and appear to be a serious business owner, business person. This is definitely not the way to behave, that's for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if that was my lender, this isn't even like for the people in the fight, just for the person that you were talking about that is posting all of this like negative juvenile like stuff on Facebook. I think that would be enough to make me be like, I want to work with someone else. Like,
right.
I just feel like that is so insane.
It is.
And like, I think for a lot of people, that is an outlet to just go and like have at it. But if you're a professional and you're posting about your professional job in that fashion, that's just wild to me.
It brought me back to grade school and everything I hated about grade school fights. You know what I mean? I'm like, really? This is like grade school.
With everything with cell phones these days and everybody's video, it's going to get out there. I mean,
right.
It's not, you just can't act that way. I
right.
mean, it's not a good thing for your business.
Well, yeah, and I think that's. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was also just going to say there were comments like after this was posted. It said that most commenters under the video weren't shocked by the display, saying that fights like this are a frequent occurrence in Atlantic City's casinos.
Oh my gosh.
I agree with that. I mean, Atlantic City is a different kind of place, and you know, at the end of the day, and I think there's not a whole lot to unpack here other than this is pretty stupid behavior and a lot to lose. People don't realize that, like, what people want from a lender or a professional or an agent or attorney or accountant or anyone else is good professional service. They don't care about parties. They got to either get their loan funded, they need to find a house, they need to, you know, get their tax return filed appropriately with the least amount of tax liability possible, get out of what legal problem you're in or fix a legal issue. And this is the problem with the industry. It's so easy for these guys to, you know, get into the business. And a lot of times, you know, mortgage lenders, just like realtors, they have this reputation for a reason. So you said you were surprised. I am not surprised by this. Think about all the people we work with that have half a brain or aren't really, you know, they don't really embody what they're supposed to do, and they end up hurting their clients more than helping them. Mm-hmm. That's probably what this was. And so I'm not surprised by this. Unfortunately, maybe I'm jaded, but you know, I've been doing this a long time, and you see all types get in and get out of this business. It's the ones who stay are the ones that have to deal with all this stuff. And
they're probably the worst lenders that you could deal with.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what you're up against. So, you know, I wouldn't hold this against all lenders.
Agreed.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
This is probably a very small microcosm of companies that are out there that do things like this.
Well, and so Mortgage America, who we work with, they had a party at Triple Play, and it was like apparently like a very low key, nice event at Morton Steakhouse, and like, you know, they invited us all a bunch of times, and that was great. And I didn't hear about any fights breaking out at Morton's. So it's just juvenile behavior. It's unfortunate. Although I will say, from a viral perspective, I hate that it was an extreme video, but this was the craziest thing I've ever seen happen in real estate. I've never seen anything like this before. Have you guys ever seen this happen at any other conferences you've been to or anything like that?
No.
Me neither. I'm asking.
That's not the norm.
All right, moving on. So congratulations, New Jersey mortgage lenders. I think it's you had your 15 seconds, and that's going to be about it. So the other piece of news before we take a quick break here, and we're going to come back with 2022 predictions from Brian Buffini and Lawrence Yun, is we had a story last week that Sarah and I covered about the Better.com CEO, and he has now taken a leave of absence. So if you didn't tune in last week, Vishal Garg, the Better.com CEO, and Better.com's a mortgage company that will make up the appraisal gap. They're basically an internet lender, and they're funded by SoftBank, who's also funded WeWork and Compass and some other places. So he's taken a leave of absence, and CFO Kevin Ryan is going to take over on an interim basis. And what ended up happening is it was 9% of the company's employees on a Zoom call and then criticized their work ethic and basically said, well, if you guys were doing your job, I wouldn't have had to fire you. I think that's a pretty good summary, Sarah, if I'm right on there. So yeah. What do you think about this? I mean, this story's kind of evolved over the past 7 days, so I wanted to hit on it real quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we were saying last week that there's, firing someone is never a fun thing to do. But, I think manning up and doing it in a more professional way goes further than this. I mean, I think that the criticism and the blowback for how he did the firing had a lot to do with this. Just on a Zoom call, letting go of that many people and then kind of retaliating and saying, well, if you were working harder, or I think most of you were only doing 2 hours a day, so you were stealing from the company. That's just a very broad criticism that he was throwing out there kind of after the fact. So I don't think it looked well upon him.
Yeah, well, if you go deeper on this story, and this we did not have last week, so apparently he's called workers dumb dolphins in an email, has a lengthy history of legal issues in which he's accused of fraud and misleading investors, and this was all reported by Forbes, so a pretty legitimate source, and Better.com came back and said, hey, it's an unfortunate fact of life. I don't know what kind of answer that is other than just admitting it. So, I look at this, and I think this is a foregone conclusion. He would have to step back. It's poor leadership. Mm-hmm. That's not how you retain people. And unfortunately, it looks like SoftBank kind of backs these companies that have these issues. I mean, WeWork had the same problem. They had to throw out the CEO. He had the same sort of things going on. Compass, their other real estate investment, their stock price is down 52% since they went IPO. So it just looks like that to me, this reinforces how important it is to have a local relationship in real estate, whether it's on the real estate side or the lending side, because these third-party large companies, they just can't hack it and they can't scale appropriately. And, from what we've heard with people that finance with Better, it ends up being a disaster like any internet lender. So, I mean, that's kind of my observation here, is that these companies just can't scale because they're not putting the right leadership in place, and it's not being done at a local level, which is what consumers really want.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And to the point of how he did the firing and, on the Zoom call, and the remaining employees that experienced that too, and then stayed on the phone to listen to him criticize their work ethic. After the fired employees were off, apparently they stayed on and they continued to talk about the employees. What does that leave them thinking? How does it make them feel? So, and they're still employees of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the kind of, is that going to come reflecting into the service that they provide? I don't know. The whole thing is, it's a shame. It's really a shame. It's a good thing that he did step down. I think he had to. He didn't have a choice in the matter because just the effect on the employees and trying to move forward.
They're probably relieved in the long run, right? I mean, the lack of leadership, the phone call's a byproduct of that, clearly. But, if I was one of those people and had to work with somebody like that, because that's the culture of the company, and now I'm out of it, it's like a breath of fresh air, so to speak. So, it's a positive.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And I think the unfortunate thing with these companies that have like VC funding and everything else is even if this guy's acting like this, he's still going to get paid. I mean, look at Adam Newman with WeWork. He was the co-founder. A lot of people called it a golden parachute when he agreed to give up control. He got $1 billion, right? And I mean, there was all kinds of things going on that was self-dealing, corporate malfeasance, and it seems like once you kind of get one of these companies to buy in, and they just got $750 million of financing too. So all this is happening in the midst of the company performing badly. It's like performance doesn't matter, and I think that's the problem a lot of consumers have with these bigger companies. It's, well, you're not doing your job, and people are still investing in you. Versus, I know what the accountability is like with us, and like the four of us in this room. When something goes wrong, guess who they're calling? The realtor. Yeah. It doesn't matter if Better.com didn't hit the mortgage commitment date or whatever else. They always come to us, and if you don't have personal responsibility, it's tough to really build trust with the consumer, and I think that's the thing the consumer wants most right now in these real estate transactions.
I agree.
All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we are going to talk about the 2022 predictions from real estate coach Brian Buffini, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, Chief Economist Lawrence Yun. You have a question for the show, you can email us. It's info@tooltimeradio.com, and we'll be right back on WWDB 860 AM.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America is equal housing lender, NMLS 128501.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, TomToole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
All right, welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole, she's Sarah Tymon, she's Stacey Mitchell, and again, we have super agent Brian Blouch from our team in the house as well. Brian, thanks for coming on. And the next segment here, we're going to talk about something that comes out every year, and this is from Brian Buffini. If you don't know him, obviously Google him is a great way to go. He's a real estate coach, has coached thousands of people, and he had NAR chief economist Lawrence Yun on his podcast or virtual event that he held, and it's called Brian Buffini's Bold Predictions for 2022, and it's a market outlook. This dropped yesterday. And what I love about Brian is he came out and said, hey, not all content's created equal and not all opinions are equal. So just be aware of that going in, knowing that it's an opinion. It's not actually here's what's going to happen, which is the whole purpose of a prediction. And what he did, and I'm going to kind of break it down point by point here, he came back with the state of the market first. And basically he highlighted some key stats of what happened in 2021, that the NAR membership is expected to grow to 1.52 million members, up from 1.48 million in 2020. And he cautioned about, while growth is exciting, a drop in experience is also happening. And one of the dynamics of the fast growth in the industry is that we've seen a drop in years of experience. Are you feeling that in your day-to-day? Like, are you seeing that when you deal with other agents? Are consumers feeling that? I thought that was a pretty interesting way to open this up, because not a lot of people are talking about this, but there's a new realtor that gets their license every 7 seconds right now, which is pretty wild. So are you feeling the drop in experience? And to give some perspective for the audience, in 2020, the average years of experience for a realtor dropped to 8 years from 9 years in 2019. So just to kind of let people know what's happening.
Well, I don't know if I experience, I don't know if that would be my first impression of an agent, like, oh, they must have little experience. I've worked with agents that have years of experience that, to me, I would have thought they were new in the business. And I've worked with agents that have, that to me had, they were so professional and so on the ball. I would have thought they had like 25 years experience, and they didn't. They had a couple of years in. So I don't know if that's what, what I'm looking for. I just look for how they handle themselves, how on top of everything they are, how professional they are. How they're responsive. To me, that's the most important thing, whether somebody has a year in or 25 years in. It's just how we work together.
Great observation. I mean, so what do you guys think? Sarah, Brian, are you feeling like experience, not a lot of experience, doesn't really matter?
I've had experienced agents that I know have been around for quite a long time, and there was some things that I knew, and I'm 1 year into it. And so I think that's out there. I think it's each individual, and in terms of what are they doing to grow personally, each year. Just being a realtor is one thing, but you have to continue to have that personal growth and continue to learn the industry, because it's evolving and changing like any other industry is. So that's important. So, I mean, but youth, there's nothing wrong with youth. I mean, you have to replenish, and I think with any type of industry out there, there's going to be people that have been around a long time and they're just getting bored with it, and they're not as effective as they once were. And bringing in new people that are excited about learning is could be a positive too for the industry.
I agree wholeheartedly there, because some of these people, it's like you got to dust them off when they go do a transaction. They've been around almost too long. So I love the enthusiasm and the drive and the experience. I think that's a really great trait. Sarah, what about you? Yeah,
I mean, I agree with what both of you said there. And Stacey, like, absolutely. There are, some agents out there that, they tell you over and over again, I've been doing this for 20 years, yet it seems less seamless than some of the agents that you work with that never once bring up how long they've been doing this. And then maybe you find out later in the transaction that they are on the newer end. And absolutely, I think that you're going to always be having new people coming in, and I would say the biggest thing there for them would be the support that they have behind them. So if they have resources and people to go to and help them kind of maneuver through some of their first transactions and help that be, they have a knowledge base behind them, I think I don't notice any hiccups necessarily in the transactions just because they are on the newer end. And I think that sometimes people that are a little bit fresher, the ego isn't necessarily there for if they don't know exactly how to handle something, they'll kind of reach out and try to figure it out and look for people to ask, versus if you've been doing it a long time, you may not want to let on that you don't know how to handle that. Or, like there are some different things that come into play there. So I haven't had any like firsthand experience where I've been like, oh, that was definitely a new agent, but so I feel like it kind of can go both ways.
So I love what everyone said there, and what Sarah talked about in particular. I think that's why it's important if you're thinking about getting into the industry, because there's a lot of opportunity. The people that say they've been doing it for a long time, that's usually like a defense mechanism. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I've been doing it a long time, even though I don't sell many houses, was kind of what I'm hearing, or because I'm still doing this when I should be at retirement age. I mean, that we've all had those kind of agents. And getting with the right organization is critical, and that's exactly why, if you're a new agent and you're thinking about getting licensed, check out our scholarship program. We'll pay for your license. It's realestatescholarshipprogram.com. More importantly, it kind of erases that, because it doesn't matter if you're new or not. It matters if you know where to get the right answer and help people through this, because we were all new, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone has to do a first transaction at some point. So while the experience has dropped, I don't think there's a big difference from 8 to 9 years. Now, if it was like 9 to like 3 years, that's I mean, you're not talking about a big delta. So that was interesting, and I would guess one of my predictions, which we'll talk about next week, is that number's probably going to drop next year. And we're going to see less agents get, because the market's not going to be the way it is this year. Mm-hmm. So let's go to Lawrence Yun real quick. He painted a picture of the market, and then we'll talk about Buffini's predictions. So I just wanted to get your feel of the accuracy of what Dr. Yun had came up with. So he mentioned a couple key points. The unemployment rate can be essentially back to normal, and that it's come down to 5%. And what he added was that the only way that gets reported is if the people who are unemployed are actually looking for a job. So it might be a little inflated because of, there's a 4 million job shortage of pre-pandemic numbers right now in the country. I thought that was pretty interesting to hear. And then when he talked about real estate specifically, he mentioned a couple things. The intensity of multiple offers is declining, and the market's abating. The fall and winter of 2021 going into 2022 is poised to be the second best fall-winter market ever, only behind this past year. And there's a mini surge coming. And the number of 2021 sales, and this isn't up for debate, this is just a stat, that it's on track to exceed last year's sales by 7% from 2021. And his prediction was sales activity is going to be shaved modestly in 2022. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I think he's definitely on point about the 2020 to 2021 sales increasing. 2021 was definitely a banner year, I think, for most people. And we have noticed a shift in the market, and but it's still incredibly aggressive and strong. I do believe that folks, that people are going to be more concerned about the inflation. The inflation of products and services is definitely a real concern. So that could hold some buyers back. They might not think that, might be a little unnerving, especially if they're looking to buy a house that may need some work. They might be concerned about getting the materials, or how much, new appliances will cost, how much that could add on to their already increased mortgage payment if the mortgage rates increase. So I think there is going to be concern from folks, but there's going to be many, many people that are still going to be buying, because there's so many first-time home buyers. The millennials have jumped in the market, and they're going to purchase. They're going to buy, because most times it's cheaper to pay a monthly mortgage payment than it is to be paying the rents. So for them, it's a smart move, and there's still going to be plenty of activity next year.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting. I think that he talked a little bit about if you have people kind of in your pipeline as time goes on, if they are serious buyers, just really kind of educating them and helping to push them. If you do find that right home, because the way that the rates are going, and we've talked about this over and over again on the show, how, interest rates are a huge impact on your buying ability and what your monthly payment is going to be at the end of the day. But if you do have people that are kind of on the edge there, just, really showing them, hey, this is how this is going to affect you, even a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road.
That's a great point. And because, I mean, how many times have we seen the buyer, they passed on a house and they're just kicking themselves over and over again for not getting involved, and it ended up selling for a number they would have paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Brian, what about you? What are your takes on Dr. Yun here?
Well, I think the pandemic has done a lot in terms of mindset with corporate companies. And a lot of people who are now having an option where they can work from home more than having to go back into the office. So I think getting a home and getting a space that they're going to spend a lot of time in is important for people, especially the ones that are renting. I mean, if you're stuck in a small apartment for, months on end working, it's going to drive you crazy, and you have the money to get out and buy. You want to buy, you want to get into something right away. So I do see the market continuing to drive, and buyers are going to still be out there. Even if the interest rates go up, I think they still have the money to cover it up to a point. But I still think they're going to get out and buy. I mean, it's more of a value that they get from quality of life from buying a home.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great observation. Yeah, and I mean, I think that goes into one of the things I wanted to hit on next, which is that CNBC came out and they just said, hey, rent prices are going to go up again next year. They've never really gone down in history, and inflation is a big factor Brian talks about here, that like the price has gone up on everything this year. Gas, food, building supplies, right? Like this is what's going on. So I do agree with you there that the most affordable sector of the market is actually buying a house right now with the way rates are. I mean, how many times have you seen a buyer paying a higher rental payment than what they actually locked in for a mortgage payment? And maybe they spent a little above their budget, right? This happens all the time. So then that's where it's an agent's job to really educate people financially. So I think that's a great observation. So good stuff there. So it sounds like we're all kind of in agreement with Dr. Yun. He's a smart guy, so that's no surprise there. So here's Buffini's predictions. And apparently when he's made these predictions, I thought this was pretty interesting, that he said he's made 33 predictions in his career, and 31 of them were right. It's pretty solid. I mean, you're above 90% there. So this is good stuff. So the first one, and I'll kind of run through this real quickly, and then we can get some reactions, and then we'll get into the Brian Blouch story, what the past year's been like, and what he knows now as an agent versus this time last year. So Buffini came out and said that inflation will definitely pose a challenge for agents in 2022. The Federal Reserve's likely going to raise rates late in the third quarter or the early fourth quarter. Apparently 92% likely at the September meeting, 94% likely at the November meeting. And he then advised agents to try to move deals, like you said, Sarah, along as quickly as possible now before rates rise. Because if you got someone in your pipeline in the summer and they're rate sensitive, you better be pushing them hard because that's what they need. I think he said make hay while the sun shines, and he's like an Irish guy, and he has an accent, so I can hear him saying that. It would sound much cooler than when I did it. So he advised agents to work, don't let up now, but winter, Q1, Q2, Q3, that's really when you need to be pushing your business more so than ever, which tells me there's going to be a more seasonal effect than we've seen over the past 24 months. I don't think any of you even know what a seasonal market is right now. I mean, going through the pandemic and everything else. So that was one. So what are your takeaways on that? Then he's got one other prediction here we'll go through. Accurate, not accurate? I mean, we kind of hit on some of this stuff here. Sarah, why don't you lead off? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one, just based off of his track record of predictions, I feel like he's a safe bet to go with. But yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to be looking at hopefully a nice little amount of inventory here hitting the market. I think it's going to be, going into the new year here, people are going to be out, they're going to be ready. And it's just really going to be our job to, if the right thing's out there, to really educate them on what could be coming down the line, and what they're looking at for. And I know we've also talked a bit about the cost of waiting, and I just think that's an important thing to educate them on, so that they get the whole picture. And waiting 5 more months to just maybe save up a little bit more money might not actually be saving them more money.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. No, I'm probably in agreement with the majority of his predictions here. I think it's regional also. There's certain pockets that are going to continue to remain pretty steady. I feel fortunately in our area we're one of those pockets. We have a lot of influx from the city, whether it be New York or Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. People are still coming into the suburbs. And our suburbs are just absolutely amazing here. So still a lot of new construction going on. So I still believe it's going to be, we probably might have more of a seasonal slowdown, but it's still going to be a pretty good seasonal slowdown. It's not going to be like a super seasonal slowdown.
And I think the market is the first-time home buyers, the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are, just getting out there. They've got enough money that they've saved, and those are the ones that are going to get hit the hardest in the uptick with the interest rates.
That's a really great point. And looking at what he said here is that first-time home buyers made up 34% of all the home buyers last year, which is up from 31% in 2020. So, I mean, that really hits a nail on the head, is that you have these millennial home buyers coming in flux, and the longer they wait, I mean, they're just hurting their equity position. It's costing them literally thousands of dollars a month, because when rates go up, or if they're paying rent, because then they're paying someone else's mortgage, that's not going to your bank account. That's a really great observation. So I do agree. And the seasonality, I think there's a little bit of a limiting mindset there, or a fixed mindset, where people say, like, even this time of year, like, you're not going to sell any more homes between now and the end of January or the end of December. I could not disagree with that more. Some of the best months we've had is December, January, February, because when you're working through the holidays, and we all take off and go hang out with our families and all that stuff, most realtors, like, they stop working like October. I mean, they're just done. They're going to Halloween parties. They're going on vacation. They're checked out for weeks.
They're getting in fights in AC.
Yeah, those people. Yeah, that's a great observation. I see a lot of opportunity right now for agents, so I do like what he said there. The next prediction he had, and we'll try to get through these quickly, is that, to Brian's point, first-time buyers are going to feel the effects of inflation the hardest, because increased inflation also creates more demand, and that real estate's usually one of the best hedges against inflation. So, and then he says mid-year, we're going to start to see fewer offers over asking, less multiple offer situations, and then lastly, because the higher income individuals suffered the least as a result of the pandemic, high-end real estate is going to be the last sector of the market to slow down. So first-time home buyers, high-end market, mid-year slowdown. What do you guys think?
Well, the first-time home buyers, I wholeheartedly think that they're going to continue. If they have any seriousness now getting into the market, they're going to do it, because they see that it's not turning around. It's not going to change. It's not going to go backwards. It's going to continue to increase, whether that be the prices, the interest rates. So they have to make a decision and get in, because you just have to do that unless you want to continue to rent and continue that cycle. So I think that first-time home buyers, if they're serious, it's going to happen for them. As far as the fewer over asking, I mean, there's opportunity now that you can
Agreed.
Get under contract not have to go over asking. You look for those opportunities. There's going to probably be a little less competition, so you can get your inspections. So I see that happening now, and I think that's going to continue in the future.
Great point.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like offers are that much over ask as they were before. It was like, oh my God, really? You're paying that much?
Yeah, like $70,000 over asking on a $400,000 home.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is real life.
Yeah, I mean, you go into an offer and you $45,000 over asking. I'm like, we got this one, and you lose it.
Right.
But it seems like that number's coming down, but there are those homes that are still out there that hit the market on a Friday. They're gone by Sunday. But those seem to be few and far between. You still see homes taking a little bit longer to sell, which is not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with the house. It's more of a pricing thing more than anything else.
I agree.
Great observation. Sarah, you got anything here?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely the ones that you're going to get the opportunities on are not the ones that are, listed on Friday, gone on Monday, and we're still absolutely gonna see some of those. But there, I've had clients where we absolutely have seen more opportunity in recent weeks than had been an option before. And as far as first-time home buyers continuing to come to the market and continuing to come out there, I mean, I don't think that we're not looking at a bubble situation where all of a sudden this is going to burst. Like, we have the buyers out there in high demand, and as we've talked about many times, I mean, the inventory, even if we do see an uptick in inventory here, some things may level out a little bit, but just choosing to hold off and wait several years. Well, years. That's kind of a silly option if you're serious about buying a home. But this isn't something where we're going to be looking at a dramatically different scene out there a little bit down the road. So I think that home buyers first-time home buyers are out there, and they're continuing to come in.
Well, that's a great point. I thought you were going to actually pull a Ricky Waters there and say, for what are you waiting for? For who? For what? I don't know if you got, not all sport, but that's where I thought that was going, because it's like you keep waiting for what? Like you're going to get some great deal. The best deal is the home you get right now, and then build equity in, because it's a long-term game. A year lost is, think about the buyers that said after the pandemic, like May 2020, I'm going to wait until things settle down. They got crushed. They lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally. So I couldn't agree with you more on that. So, it sounds like we're all in agreement with what he's saying. He does have a good track record, Sarah, so that's really good. Last thing he said here real quick is that he advised agents to hunker down on the basics in their business. This was my favorite part of the article. I'm sure you guys are shocked by that, right? But and it said, have fun with fundamentals like doing Popeyes, getting face-to-face, reconnect with people, and practice self-care, which I thought was great advice. And then he ended it with this, and this is all the agent advice here, is that there's a Navy SEAL quote that is, under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. I thought that was very, very interesting.
That's a good one.
He's saying go back to basics, reconnect with people. What do you think about this? Because I think the past 2 years have been so interesting on so many levels. And I see a total, I feel all connected with all you guys because we get to see each other every day. That's not the case with a lot of people. I know we've probably all had friends we haven't seen in 2 years.
Yeah. What I know in the short period of time I've been in real estate is you have to be careful to not go after the next best thing. Just stick with what works and stick with the basics. And I totally agree with that statement 100%. It's the fundamentals get you the end result in the long run.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Ladies, got anything?
Yep. Go ahead.
No, just by the fundamentals, talking to people, get out there, meet for coffee, catch up with your neighbors, old friends, people you haven't seen in a long time. It has been a long time. Maybe that's why they went crazy in Atlantic City, because they haven't really been together.
I've been to a party in 2 years.
Right. So, definitely get back to basics. Hone your skills, agents. Definitely hone your skills, because you're going to need them. I really love that quote. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, that is good.
That's a really good one.
We're going to repurpose that 8 times after
I think
reading
we
this
should.
article.
Yeah, maybe get some T-shirts made under that.
I like
Where's
it.
Valerie? Yeah, so because I think that's what the skill sets that we're going to need when things, settle a little bit, are going to be those basic skill sets, and that's what the good agents are going to be able to lean on, and they'll be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we've experienced, in the last 2 years here, an influx of maybe people kind of coming to us more than in previous times, and kind of regardless of what is going on with the market, if you're consistent with what you need to do and hitting that baseline, I think you'll be in a good position no matter what is going on in the market, and you won't be so affected by that, because you'll be doing what you need to be doing day in and day out, regardless of if people are calling you up or if people are hanging up on you. You'll have your baseline there to kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah, and I remember, and we'll end with this, when we were kind of locked down and doing Zoom trainings and stuff, and Stacey, you and Sarah were there, Tom Ferry said to us, he did a call, is that the best agents are made during crazy markets like this, or tough markets. And I think that's really true. And now when it shifts to a skill-based market, not just showing up and saying, hey, do you like this house? And they're like, well, we've been looking at the neighborhood. We can't find what we want. We're just going to buy it, which we've all been the recipient of in a great way. It's going to take a little more effort. And that effort is going to be those who know how to give a presentation, how to reconnect with people, and how to make it about the person, not the property. So I think that's a great place to take a quick break. So we're going to come back. We're going to talk about Brian Blouch, his first year in real estate. He is kicking butt and taking names. Excited to go through this, man. This is Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender, NMLS 128501.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
The real estate market is red hot. Have you considered taking advantage? Call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX at 610-692-6976 or visit our website, TomToole.com, to connect and take advantage of these market conditions.
All right. We are back on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. And we are going to be talking about Brian Blouch, our super agent, friend, teammate, in a second here. Just a quick reminder, we're streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. So, Brian, we're excited to have you come on for a lot of reasons. One, this is right in your wheelhouse. Two, we've really got to know you over the past year, and I think a lot of people there, you came from a long time, another career, and jumped into real estate, saw success over your past 12 months. So kind of walk us through, who's Brian? How'd you get into the business? Because making a career change isn't easy anytime you do it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was a little nerve-wracking for me, and I was like many of the millions of Americans out there in 2020 where, I got the phone call and said, hey, we're laying you off. And I've worked my entire life since I was 18 years old, and I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
What is that? So I just get a long vacation? What does that mean? So so I was in the collision repair business for 37 years and, owned my own company, and that's all I've ever known, and got into training and development. So at the time COVID hit, obviously they're not hiring and they're not training and developing people, so they kind of cut that. And so once I took a step back and took a breather and okay, what is this all going to mean? The first 3 months was great. I got work done around my house, and then the next 3 months I'm bored. What am I going to do? So as the year went on, I just had to do some soul searching, which I think a lot of people are doing now. I mean, they're maybe not going back into the food industry because it wasn't the greatest job, or whatever that is. They're rethinking their next step, and that's what I did. So real estate was something that was brought to me by someone who I'm close to, and she said, hey, what about real estate? And it was the only thing that I thought about that I didn't discard right off the bat. So researched it for a couple of months, was always on the computer. What's this all about? What does it look like? How much money can I make? You know, all the basic stuff. So I decided to pull the trigger, fourth quarter of 2020, and got my real estate license. And we connected through a connection of somebody that we both know, and just decided I'm going all in. Once I was able to figure out how I was going to finance that first year, because that's always, you don't know what you're going to get up against, and you still got to pay the bills and the mortgage and all that good stuff. So once I figured that out, I just went for it and just dove in head first.
So and this story probably resonates with a lot of people. This is one of the reasons why many reasons I'm excited to have you come on, but that's one, because I know there's still a lot of people that are kind of in that same position. So what made you want to, it was the only thing you were interested in. Obviously, you had a really successful career. What appealed to you about the career, the job, that made you want to go all in? Especially after what was a crazy year for the entire population.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of parallels to the body shop business and real estate. And what I mean by that is when you get involved in a car accident, it's a very traumatic experience for a lot of people. Kids are in the car, it's a little nerve-wracking. So you have to work with people to calm them down, build a relationship, get them to trust you that because it's still an investment that they have. Mm-hmm. And, now they have to work with an insurance company. They got to get a rental car. It's a lot of the unknowns that they're not aware of. And there's a process to it. And I saw the same thing with real estate. Real estate has processes to it. And clients don't have all the answers. They say they do, but they don't. And they need help and guidance to get them to the finish line. So from that standpoint, I was very comfortable with getting a relationship started quickly. So picking up the phone, talking to somebody, finding out what they need, and then what can I do to help them. So that's where I saw that I think I could transition fairly well into this industry.
What a lot of people don't get, and I'd love for you guys to chime in too, because I know we've had kind of similar experiences, that there's a lot of stuff that correlates with real estate that people do in other careers, and it's really a matter of how much money do you want to make? You said it yourself. Like that's real life, especially after you haven't been working for 6-8 months, right? Mm-hmm. How much money can you make? Is this going to fit my lifestyle and my skill set? And so the parallels are really critical. And I think a lot of people are just afraid because there's the uncertainty with it as well. Like you don't know, like you don't have a check coming in 2 weeks, right? I mean,
right. And
like you, I had to make I did it a lot different. I lived in my parents' basement my first year, because I was 22 years old, but it's the same thing. You had to be kind of ready to, all right, what do the next 12 months look like? So, for someone that maybe is thinking about getting into the business, like what advice would you have for them, knowing what you know now, 12 months later?
Yeah, and I think we talked about the basics and the fundamentals, and I went into this looking towards to you and to Josh and to say, tell me what I need to do to be successful. And I absorbed that 100%. I trusted it 100%, and that's what I did, and it paid off. And I think with anybody, especially in real estate, whatever you put into it, you're going to get out of it. And when you work hard to your craft and you keep your mindset right and you keep forging ahead, good things will happen. And once they start to happen, confidence gets in there, and then the sky's the limit.
I mean, are you guys feeling the same thing? Because we've all been through this here, and you two a little more recently. I mean, I think Brian's verbalizing it like exceptionally well. And I might imagine you guys all had kind of similar experiences when you got into the job. I mean, what are you thinking? What questions do you have for him? I mean, I know we see each other like every day or at least a couple times a week. So let's get the conversation going here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to steal one of Tom's maybe like favorite quotes here, which is, thank you for being coachable. And I feel like with you came in with a great attitude and you were open to the process. And, I've seen your confidence grow throughout the past year, and you've been very successful, not because you did anything super wild and crazy or had like just a lucky one-off, but you've absolutely, put in the time and done the steps each and every day and taken advice and asked questions. And, and I think that you've also been very authentic and genuine to your clients, which absolutely goes a long way. And I'm sure that you are having referrals upon referrals coming in from people that you've worked with because they're like, you got to work with Brian.
Well, it was an interesting point you made, and learning the transactional piece first. How to write the offer, how to prospect, how do you get somebody from the phone to out to go look at a house, and the verbiage that you use. But then as I got better at that, I realized I still need to be a person. And that's what they want, right? So finding that balance and that, from the business conversation to the personal conversation and having that balance. And once I realized that, I think things started to really kind of click for me. But I still needed that transaction piece.
Yeah, of course. That's the easier part to learn, though. I mean, that's like here's the knowledge, here's the skill set. You got it down. Maybe there's of course things we're all going to see that we've never seen before. But once you get the basics down, like Buffini said, it becomes easier to weave in the personal stuff. So I think that a lot of people think it's hard learning the contracts and getting licensed. it's hard learning how to go sell a house to somebody and build that relationship. That to me is the hardest part about being a salesperson.
Yeah. And my history with clients and with customers is I'm very comfortable with that. So just get me in front of the person and let's have a conversation, and then we'll take it from there. And if
that's
you still,
obvious. That is very obvious.
And if you still don't like me, then okay, we should work together.
That's an important thing to realize, though, because I mean, we've all had clients that it's just like you feel like you're at each other all the time. Sometimes it's better moving on and finding someone that's going to buy into the way you're doing things.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make over the last 12 months?
Yeah, there's a lot of them for sure. I mean, the initial learning curve is there's a lot of information that you have to absorb very quickly. But I think as I've gone through the year, I think the challenge that I had is for new agents, you have to be very careful because this business can be 24/7.
Yep.
And you could, without even realizing it, be working every day, 10, 12-hour days. And don't get me wrong, I was enjoying it, but I remember mid-June or July sitting on the couch and telling Amy, I'm exhausted. She's like, well, you've worked 4 months straight, 7 days a week. You should be exhausted. And it was kind of that wake-up call where, because you coach us with that. You have to find that balance. So I'm getting better at that. But I think that's probably my business. It's time management. So, you're the business owner, right? You're the employee. You're the tax guy. You're the financial guy. And making sure that instead of working in the business all the time, I work on the business. And I have to remember that. So I'm getting better at it, but it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Well, it's progress over perfection, though, right? I mean, I think that's how you got to look at it. If you can get a little better every day, that's way better than trying to have that quantum leap every once in a while.
Yeah, and I don't expect things to jump as quickly as it did. I'm beyond expectations. The way my first year has went, but for me, it's just slow and steady. That's the way I look at it, and I know I'm getting better each day, and it'll just continue to evolve.
Awesome. So we got about a minute left here. Where can people reach you, Brian, if they want to have you help them?
You can reach me at brian@tomtoole.com.
Love it. So Brian's on our website. It's brian.tomtoole.com. It's Brian, Blouch. That's it for this week's episode of Tool Time. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. You want to follow Stacey? Check her out on Instagram at @2 Mitchco, Mitchco. Sarah's at Ty_Ty-Time, Ty_TYTIME. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Tom Toole 3rd, at Tom Toole 3RD. Google the Tom Toole Sales Group. Again, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and Delaware since 2018. We'll be back next week on WWDB 860 AM.